All right, Bearcats, welcome. This is Gene Roberts with Student Legal Mediation Services, and we have Ace Thomas from the Student Money Management Center here today. A couple of disclaimers. This is for informational and educational purposes only. This does not constitute legal or financial advice. Please seek a lawyer or financial advisor of your own before taking any action. We're here today to talk about scams. There's a lot of scams going on all the time, but in times of crisis, they tend to increase in visibility. So Ace, we're hearing about some of these scams. What are some of the scams that y'all are seeing from students in y'all's office?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when pandemics and stuff happen. Scammers are like cockroaches. They're very versatile, and it's very interesting. One of the ones that I actually personally got was a gentleman called me claiming to be from my bank, even though he had no idea who I banked with. He just told me, "This is your bank calling." So yeah, that's one of the scams that I've seen. Another one that I actually had a student say is that they said the IRS was calling them. And it was very strange because of the wording. Obviously, the IRS most likely isn't going to call you. So A, that's the big red flag there. But also the IRS isn't going to ask you for your social and stuff. And she was like, dude, he was asking for all kinds of personal information and stuff. The IRS already knows all that about you. They don't have to ask that information. There's also these weird calls about asking about your stimulus check, numbers on your stimulus check. Oh, we got to make sure your stimulus check got to you. What's your bank routing number? Stuff like that. And then, of course, there is now the classic COVID-19 test, and you have been selected to, be tested for COVID-19. Please give me your date of birth, your name, your address, all that stuff. So those are some of the big ones that I've actually, heard about. Are there any other ones that you've heard about, Gene?
Those are kind of the typical ones. Mandatory testing, stimulus check. We need some information about you. And you raise a lot of really good points here, Ace, in terms of how do I know that it's a scam or not? And one of the primary reasons is they're asking for information that they should already have, and it's always identifiable information. And so, one of the things I encourage people to try to develop. Anyone who watches, Marvel comics, Spider-Man has this spidey sense. And, I think one of the things that we can do is try to develop a scam sense. Sometimes things sound too good to be true, or it just doesn't make sense. It's like, hey, we need to verify that your COVID-19 check deposited. Why do you need to verify that? You can look at that, right? That's in your bank account information. But they're always looking for things that's identifying information that probably they should already have: names, addresses, date of birth, social security numbers. Sometimes it sounds too good to be true. Hey, you've been selected to do this. And one of the things too is if it's in writing, either a text message or an email, sometimes the grammar and the English isn't very good. And so that's another, and so that's another sort of red flag to look for. And if it has a link in there, you can right click on the link to see where it's actually going. And if that link in the right click doesn't match up, that could be a red flag. So there's just a lot of these types of things that when you put everything together, it doesn't make sense. But when you're talking to them, and we're going to get to that in just a second with you, when you're talking to them, they put really high pressure sales techniques on. We need this information now. We can't process this without your, date of birth now. Give us $50 now. And so all of these things are red flags that scammers use. And so Ace, let's just talk about this for a second. One other thing too is I will counsel our students that if they get a phone call or a text message from someone they don't know, just don't answer and don't respond. But sometimes we do. Sometimes it's an accident. It looks like a real number. The IRS will not call you, but when you see caller ID and it says IRS, that puts some pressure on you. So let's say you accidentally pick up the phone and you start talking with one of these scammers. What are some things that you can do, if you start talking to them?
Well, I mean, the best thing is as soon as you realize that it's a scammer or something seems skeevy, just hang up. It's not a face-to-face interaction. You can just hit your end call button. It's, you're not going to obviously hurt anyone's feelings. And even if you do hurt a scammer's feeling, is that bad thing. They probably shouldn't be scamming people. Obviously, please do not give them any of your confidential information. They will ask for date of birth, social, literally everything, bank account numbers, routing numbers. They want that information. That's literally why they're scamming you. They are phishing for information. All they're doing is phishing, and they're good at it. Like, Gene said, it's high pressure sales tactics, and they know how to get that information from you. They're very effective at it. Another thing you can do is, if you're not really sure, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, just ask them for their location, ask them for their information. Like my bank example earlier, the guy said he was calling me from my bank, and I was like, oh, which bank is it? He was like, oh, your bank. And I'm like, my bank? I was like, which bank is that? I have multiple banks, multiple accounts with different people. Which one are you? And he immediately hung up. So another thing that's kind of interesting with this is that a lot of these scammers, they're kind of scripted. And a good thing about Android and Apple phones now is that they'll come up saying it's a scam call, a potential scam call. So that's something else that you can look out for. But this kind of segues into, what if I gave them my confidential information? What, I accidentally fell for it. I, didn't really think about it. Maybe it was my bank or the IRS, and I didn't want to get in trouble with them. So, Gene, what kind of resources can we get, if a student has been scammed or if something happened?
Yeah, there are a lot of things that you can do, and you really have to take immediate action so that if you accidentally gave them, like your bank account information, they don't get whatever money's in your account. And so one thing is, if you give them financial information, contact your bank. And the banks are used to dealing with scammers, and they can shut down your account and get you a new account. You may have to go in and do some paperwork, but call your financial institution. And if it involves something with the university, because there are scams that are going out about COVID and the CARES Act and financial aid, contact the school's financial aid office, let them know about it, but also contact the police. You can contact your local police department. There'll be some paperwork that you can fill out. And, if they're scamming one person, they're really scamming a lot of other people, and that allows for a coordinated law enforcement approach. There are some other places online where you can file reports, like the Federal Communications Commission, Federal Trade Commission, the Office of the Attorney General for the state of Texas has a consumer rights and advocacy group that you can file a report with. But, I'd also encourage them to go talk with your office, Student Money Management, come talk to our office, Student Legal Mediation Services. But there's going to be a lot of reporting that has to take place to try to preserve your bank account information. And I would even say something like this: if it turns out that you've given them your bank account information, if you have like a savings account and you gave them your checking account, move everything to your savings account except for maybe $5. Whatever it takes to keep your account active, but definitely contact your bank and just say, look, I think I've been scammed, and they will work you through it. If they ask you for credit card information and you say, this ended up being a scam, contact your credit card company so that they can shut down that credit card quickly. I always encourage people to look at their credit reports regularly. I know that's something that your office helps students analyze and look at. We can run background reports for students to see if someone's using an address or a social security number in a way that probably shouldn't be being used, so that you can kind of see the long-term effects. And so even after you do all this reporting, you're still going to have to follow up 6 months, a year, maybe even multiple years later to see what the effect, if any, of the scam has been. Ace, if people want to get in touch with you and your office for money management, financial assistance type of things, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you these days?
The best way to get in touch with us is our email, which is smmc@shsu.edu. We're also still answering phones at 936-294-2600. And you can just get in contact with us normally. Campus Connect, you can schedule through Campus Connect like normal, and we can set you up a Zoom consultation just like this, or we can call you on the phone, whichever is more comfortable for you. We are not doing in-person consultations right now at the moment, though. And
we're doing the same thing. If students want to make an appointment with us, we see students by appointment. They can call our office, 936-294-1717. They can make an appointment at Campus Connect for a date and time that's convenient. And we're doing the same things. We're doing phone and video consultations for right now. All right, Ace, thanks so much for your time. Hope that our students don't have to use us for these types of things, but it happens. And I'm glad that the university has these types of resources.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.